Today we're going to be installing the sPOD into our 2013 JK Rubicon. So let's open up the box, check out all the components we have here. But first we got the instruction manual. Always good to have this along with it. Looks like some accessories package. Looks like the bracket, some terminal connections, zip ties, miscellaneous stuff. We got, looks like here's the actual control unit with the switches. So I just got the 6 rocker switches here. There's the cable. Let's see what else we got here. And it looks like here's the distribution unit. There we go. Alright, let's get everything opened up. Alright, so we have everything unpackaged. Let's take a look through the components and see what we have. So here's going to be the source, right? The power, basically this is the distribution unit that we're going to plug all of our accessories into. There's all of our terminals, the Bosch relays, you know, the whole setup for this is going in the engine compartment. Here's going to be our switches. So this is going to go into the cab. We're going to mount it right about in the middle of the windshield frame on the top side of it. They also give us some additional zip ties, some string tubing, and a few extra SPOD terminals that we can use for the install. This looks like this is going to be the bracket that we're going to use to mount the switches up into the cab of the Jeep, and the installation instructions. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're going to start by first dismantling the areas that we're going to need to remove. So the header cover for the windshield right here, we're going to need to take this down. We're going to need to remove the visor, sun visor here. I'm also going to need to remove the grab bar that I have on the front here. This will open up the A-pillar to allow me to run the cables down. And we're also going to need to remove this plastic portion of the side of the dash that allows the cable to run through, and then we're going to be able to feed it through the firewall here. Alright, so first we're going to start with the plastic windshield header cover right here in the center. So we're going to pull down the 2 sun visors and fold them over, move them out of the way. And according to the instructions, it has 4 clip pops in the windshield frame, I guess somewhere, you know, spread out maybe through here, but just to basically pull it forward until they unclip. So let's take a look. That's pretty easy. There you go, it's 3 pops, and there's the 4th one. Alright, so that looked pretty simple. So here we go. So we're able to get the top down and the plastic cover down, so we will feed the wires through. Now let's move over to the A-frame. Alright, to remove the sun visor, we're just going to use a T20 Torx bit and just take it to remove the bolts here. Now we're going to remove our grab bar too, so we can get to the this section, the top section of the A-pillar. Alright, we're also going to remove the plastic screw right here that's on the bottom portion of the section. These are the plastic ones basically that Jeep will put in there. And this most likely is kind of broken since it just kind of turns and turns. There we go. Let's get some movement. See if we can grab it. There we go. That's it. Now we should be able to pull this down. now that we have the top portion of the A-pillar removed, and then the A-pillar plastic unit removed as well, we can move on to the side port here. This thing looks like it just kind of held in by a couple clips. So we're just going to kind of start at the top. There we go. We'll just kind of work our way down and then remove it. There we go. So we have it open. Alright, now we have the side cover off here. We're going to be running the cables for the sPOD unit, at least for the rocker switch unit, down through here. And I'll see if I can get a shot. So right there is where we're going to be plugging through the firewall in order to run the connection from the switch unit to the actual master unit or the distribution unit. Alright, next we're going to remove the footman's loop from the center of the windshield. So this is the one right above the rear view mirror. We're just going to use a T25 Torx bit and then just remove these two bolts right here. Alright, so now that we have our centered section footman's loop removed, we want to use the switch bracket that they provided and the footman's loop and reattach it. Now you're going to want to reattach it in this type of position, right? There's a couple of videos that had it behind, a couple that had it in front, but from what I've looked at, you want to have the footman's loop in front and the bracket behind. So we're just going to go ahead and reattach the bracket and the footman's loop right back to its original position. Alright, when you're putting the center part of the trim back on, you'll notice there's actually 6, 3 on each side. So there's 2 here that align to the top here, and one underneath right there, right? So that's going to connect this one. So make sure that they all line up when you're putting them back in. So you'll see here the 3 on the right side, passenger side, and here are 3 on the driver's side. So they're all going to line back up and pop back into place when you put the top molding back on. Now they did mention in the instructions that we may need to cut off pieces of the trim here in order to fit the bracket in. So in our case, it looks like we will need to. So you'll see it right here. Actually, it's a little out of focus, but the area right here, we can't push the molding up any further. It's going to run into the clip. So I'm going to mark this off with tape on both sides, and then I'll take a Dremel to it and cut that section out. Okay, you'll see here that I did tape so it can align basically where I want to cut, and so it's a little out of focus, but basically, you know, right this area that is exposed will be the sections that are cut off that'll allow the trim piece to fit snugly back into place, and then, you know, allow the mount for the switch you know, to go in flush. So let's go ahead and cut that piece down. So basically what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to show you. So you'll see here the wires are connected. I'll need to disconnect this, and I'll figure that out where I can. Let me see here. I look like they're just taped on. Yeah, that's all it is. So there's the plastic grommets right here. There we go. I'm just going to remove all 3 of these, and there goes the cover. So here's the top molding section of our Jeep by the windshield. This area that's exposed, the black that's exposed, the areas that we're going to cut. And I'll post the measurements up that I went with on the video so you can see it. But let's get to it. You can either use a cutoff tool. In my case, I'm just going to use a Dremel just for a little bit cleaner cut, and then you know, kind of clean up the areas where it cut off. So let's get to it. Now we have it cut out. Let's go test the fit, make sure it works. Alright, so we got our top header back in place. Fitted up the cables down the back. We've already lined up the clips and we're ready to get this back in. Make sure we can connect. And it looks good. Alright, so you see we're able to get flush with the top of the windshield, and then able to fit in with the brackets there and there. Alright, so we go ahead and remove the tape and then continue on. Alright, so here's the sPOD control unit. I just ran the wire behind the uppermost molding here, and I ran it behind. You'll notice right here, I ran, this is the sPOD cable, right? And this is the cable that runs to the rear view mirror. I ran it behind here just so I can follow it along and run it back behind, and then underneath here so we get a cleaner fit when running it through. If you wanted to cross, we're going to be running into kind of the upper section here, and I wanted to leave that molding open because you'll notice it's got some of the flange pieces right there that might connect up to this plastic piece or this metal piece of the frame. All right. So what we're going to do now is, so these holes right here are going to line up with the mount holes. You'll see right there, and we're just going to screw them in with the 2 screws that are provided. Okay, so we got our switch panel all mounted up. We tightened down the screws on both sides. You'll see it actually fits in quite nicely. It's nice and snug and flush. It comes up to the molding pretty nice. I wanted to show you before I put the rest of the molding back on where I ran the cable. So there's basically a total of like 7 or so zip ties I'll show you here. And I just followed the existing cable that runs from the rear view mirror all the way down. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1 down there. Right here, here you go, and 7. So you can follow that. I think that works best. Actually, as long as we, allow the cables to clear, you'll see here where the mounts are. We got a lot of glare there. Let's flip it over. There we go. So mount right here, and then this is the plastic mount. Remember, we took out that bottom piece, so that's going to clip in there. So we just need to make sure that they're free. All right, and we ran the cable down, and let's see if we can see. So again, that's going to be the punch. So I actually ran a fish line through it already, and it will come out. And you'll see right down there, that's where we're going to feed the line through. So let's get that through. So I wanted to show you how I actually cut it through. So the easiest way to do it is to cut an X instead of a hole. That will allow the cable to be fed through and also close up around the cable. I mean, it's not going to be airtight. We can probably come back around later and use something to seal that up, but it allows us to get the cable through rather nicely without cutting a large hole there. Alright, so that's what the cable looks like when it's coming through the firewall. I just wanted to leave it there at this point, and then we're going to work on the actual power the distribution unit. We'll get that mounted up before we connect the cables. Now we want to install the base for the source, the power distribution unit in the engine compartment. So right behind the washer fluid container, this piece, I don't know what this is called, but basically we need to remove 2 bolts, or remove 1 bolt here on the top right hand side, and we're going to loosen the bottom bolt here. This will allow us to slide the base onto it, and then we can tighten it back up. So you're going to use a 8mm ratchet for this. Remember, we just need to loosen the one closest to the side here, just to fit the brace in. Now we have our sPOD distribution unit. We can slide this down onto the first bolt, like so. Alright, now we can take the bolt we just removed from the top one, put it back in. Now that we have the sPOD base mounted up, we're going to want to run the power leads, the positive and negative leads. I'm going to try and run it on the outermost part of the engine compartment as it possibly can. So down here, up through here, through the back where the main line runs, and then all the way across to the positive and negative terminals on the battery. So we're going to pop off the cover here. Alright, so there's basically where we want to run the leads for the distribution unit. We've run the negative lead up and underneath the shield here, but in order to get the positive lead with the circuit breaker through it as well, we're going to need to take apart the circuit, basically the housing here, and then we're just going to unscrew the one that runs to the source, this one here, and then that'll allow us to get us through the shielding here, and then we'll reconnect it when we run the wires back through. So I wanted to show you where I ran the cables. We'll see if we can get in here a little closer and focus in a little bit. So you'll see here, this is the shield that we removed the bolt from the top and the bolt from the bottom, and also removed the horn that was right here. So we have the positive and negative lead, as well as the wire from the inside the cab from the switch panel going through the same location right here. So you'll see 3 of them going in and out, and then this is also the main that's running out. So we're going to run the wires up and around, and you'll see down there, we're just going to kind of attach them, bring them up here, and then run them across through the back of the engine compartment. Now that we have our leads run through the rear of the engine compartment, we're going to reconnect our positive lead to the breaker. Now that we have our positive and negative leads run through the back of the engine compartment up against the firewall here, we're going to connect the terminals up to the battery. So we're going to start with the positive first. Once the source is mounted and in place, remember you'll need to take the line in the connector that runs from the switch in the cab to the power distribution unit. So you'll see just up underneath, run it through here, and then just connect it in place. Now that we have everything cabled up, I just wanted to give a quick walkthrough to show you where I ran the cables. So there's the head unit. You'll see the cables. See if I can focus this in some. The cables run there, behind the shield, out there. Down and around, they're going to connect with the cable that's coming out of the cabin and running up to the distribution unit. And then they continue up here, and then through the back, right there, and then all the way around. And then we run it to the terminals for the battery. So I wanted to show you where all the zip ties were. I might have overdone it with the zip ties, but I wanted to make sure everything was secure and locked in. Now that we've started our engine to set the source system, now we're going to test to make sure each of the different connections work. So right now, this is just a simple tester. You'll see I'm connected to positive. All of these are going to be off. Now we'll start on switch 1. Switch 1 is going to be the leftmost switch on the switchboard up in the cabin. So we'll test that first. So the light on the rocker switch went on, and we'll test this here, and you'll see the light goes on. You'll see it for number 2. We did not turn it on, no light. Switch number 2, light. Switch number 3, light. Switch number 4, light. Switch number 5, light. And switch number 6, light. Looks like we're all set.